Hey, this is Elon with Best of 5. We're a weekly FGC talk show, so if we keep popping up on your recommended feed and you want to stay connected to the FGC, click the subscribe button and stick with us while we bring you more FGC news. It's time for us to move on to our next topic, and boy, this one's a doozy. This one is a doozy. I don't know if you guys frequent Twitter as much as I do. Twitter is like my primary mode of social media nowadays. So this has been very interesting to experience. Here's a timeline of the things that have happened in regards to Twitter. Elon Musk offered to buy Twitter for $44 billion because he was concerned with people's free speech getting taken away, even though Twitter is a private company and you sign an agreement before you sign up for Twitter. So, Elon Musk signs an agreement saying he'll buy Twitter for $44 billion. Way more than Twitter was worth at the time. So he signs an agreement to buy it. After Elon Musk signs this agreement, he tries to get out of it, right? From my understanding, there was a clause in the agreement that he could not back out, and he had to pay $44 billion. And he was either going to get the company or he was going to pay $44 billion and not get the company. So, after trying to worm his way out of that agreement, the purchase finally goes through. And Elon Musk officially buys Twitter for $44 billion. I remember not too long ago, somebody had claimed that they could solve world hunger for $4 billion. And he said something along the lines of, show me how it works. And then they tried to show him, and he wouldn't give them the $4 billion either way. But now he spent $44 billion. He was forced to spend $44 billion to buy Twitter. Immediately upon his purchase of Twitter, he fires all the board of directors, all of the executives, a gigantic layoff of a lot of the workforce for Twitter, which is a problem. He lays off a significant percentage of the company's workforce, which is a problem in and of itself because there is a law in California, which is where one of the Twitter offices are at. There is a California law that states that you have to give workers 60 days notice before a high percentage of layoffs hit the company, right? That was not given. Elon Musk just one day decided, hey, I'm going to lay off a shit ton of people. So there's some legal troubles happening there. Another aspect of this is in the agreement that he signed that forced him to buy this company, there is a clause for workers who are let go, saying that he'll provide a specific number of months of severance that is higher than the usual. From my understanding, Elon has not complied to that agreement yet, and maybe even more legal trouble. And man, I gotta say, I hate sharing a name with this dude. Even phonetically, I absolutely hate it. On top of the legal trouble, here is the practical trouble this man has gotten himself into. The initial firings that took place, the initial downsizing that took place, the layoffs, were decided by the statistic of lines of code written. This isn't verified, so I'm not 100% sure if this is true or not, but I believe it. So essentially, with this system of layoffs, the more lines of code you write, the more chances you have to stay in the company. That's terrible because departments like security, debugging, quality assurance don't write that many lines of code. As a matter of fact, they spend a lot of time focusing on very specific lines of code. So a lot of the people on these departments got let go, which causes a lot of issues such as security, quality assurance. Another issue, and even more legal trouble for Mr. Musk, is that he started using resources from Tesla to work on Twitter. So essentially, he's been taking some workers from Tesla and putting them to work on Twitter. This is not legal. Tesla is a publicly traded company. That means a lot of tax write-offs and a lot of tax money that we pay goes into that company. Twitter is a private company. So essentially, he's using tax dollars from a publicly traded company to work on a company that is private. That is big illegal time. That's not legal. So that's going to be bad. And he was sending workers from Tesla to Twitter to do things like, spy on employees who were dissenting, making sure that nobody talked bad about him in the workforce. So very interesting use of our tax money there. Elon continues to fire employees who show dissent, who either tweet publicly about something or privately speak about his decision. So much for that whole free speech thing that he was touting, right? I haven't even gotten to the good stuff, and here's the good stuff. Let's talk about Twitter Blue. This was, I think, my favorite part of this whole saga. So, Elon Musk, when buying Twitter, said that he is giving everybody free speech. Comedy on Twitter is back. You can make jokes on Twitter again. Immediately after saying this, he announces that Twitter Blue is going to include a verification badge, which a verification badge is in itself a security feature to help distinguish high-profile names from accounts who seek to do harm, right? So you can tell who a real person is by the verification badge that they have, and not just like either a fan account or whatever, or somebody who cannot speak for that person or that company. He announces that for $16 a month, you can have access to Twitter Blue, which will give you a verification badge. It will give you, It will give you priority in the algorithm, so all of your tweets, replies, etc. were going to float to the top of the page. In one foul stroke, this man both was setting up like a class system in Twitter, right? Because you have the peasants who don't pay and then the people who pay. And the peasants who don't pay don't get hurt as much as the people who pay, right? So much for free speech. And was causing a giant security concern by giving most accounts a verification badge. After uproar about it costing $16 a month, he then announced that it will cost $8 a month. And after a lot of backlash and after a lot of warnings, Twitter Blue for $8 a month got released. Any account could now have a verification badge for the low price of $8. And you might be thinking, that won't be that harmful. Even if people tried to impersonate other people, I don't think that'll affect anything. And boy, were you wrong if you thought that. A company by the name of, this was one of the few things that happened, right? I'm going to go over like 3 instances of things that went terribly wrong. We'll start with the most lighthearted one and then move into the harsher ones. First, you got tweets like this. We all like Nintendo. We know Mario. Look at that. Nintendo of America verified badge. Not the actual Nintendo account, but it's just Mario flipping off the camera. It's very on brand for Nintendo, don't you think? It feels like that's what they do to the Smash scene every once in a while. So, immediate misrepresentation, but a harmless joke. No harm, no foul. Until we get to things that got a little bit heavier. A day after Twitter Blue was released to the public, somebody decided to impersonate the account for Eli Lilly and Company, which is a healthcare company. And this is what they posted on Twitter. We are excited to announce insulin is free now. Obviously not a real tweet. But once again, verification tag is there. Everything is there. This forced this company to actually tweet out saying, hey, that wasn't us. Sorry. So they had to apologize for this tweet. Even worse, their stocks tanked. The financial state of Eli and Lilly is awful because of that tweet. Not necessarily just because of that tweet, right? Like dives usually take more than one occurrence to happen, but it seems like this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And for better or for worse, this troll tweet kind of got the discussion started on why insulin is so expensive. Especially when the patent for influence was sold for $1 because the person who patented insulin said that everybody needs this. And people who bought those patents, like Eli Lilly and Company, have been charging out the ass for it, for something that everybody needs. inadvertently, this is a good thing because now people are questioning the price of insulin. The stocks for this company has completely tanked, and there's a new discussion about affordable medication being talked about, which is great. So doesn't seem too bad, right? For us, for people who work for Eli Lilly and Company, maybe not so great. On the same day, somebody else decided to impersonate Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin is essentially a defense contract company. So they essentially provide military services for... It's privatized military service. That's basically it. So Lockheed Martin, who does a lot of deals internationally, controversially deals with Saudi Arabia, then had a fake troll Twitter tweet this out from Lockheed Martin at Lockheed Martini, which is absolutely the best in the world. And I could definitely go for a martini or 5. Saying, we will be halting all weapon sales to Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States until further investigation into their record of human rights abuses. Doesn't seem like a bad thing at all. However, completely tanked their stock, caused a lot of disarray within the company, caused a lot of disarray in the market. So essentially what Elon Musk has done by having this Twitter Blue be accessible for the price of $8, he essentially gave everyone a way to completely ruin companies, right? Like, he made the best tool for fighting capitalism by not thinking of the actual outcome here. So a lot of companies who have been getting impersonated have been affected extremely negatively because it really does seem like we've all been trained to look for that verification badge. And once we see these verification badges we take that word as truth, because up until now we had no reason not to, with a lot of exceptions, of course. Twitter became a force for fighting capitalism, big pharma, and privatized military companies, which is hilarious, let me tell you. That was, I think, my favorite thing. Immediately after all this started happening, and immediately after all of these companies began being negatively affected by this, Twitter Blue has been removed. You are no longer able to purchase, use, or edit anything tied to Twitter Blue, which creates another problem. People who paid $8 paid for 1 month of Twitter Blue. Twitter Blue, as of right now, is no longer available. So their money has been stolen. Have they been getting refunds? I'm not sure. So on top of being in legal trouble with these companies that have been negatively affected by this decision, the people who purchased this service are no longer getting that service. And if they have not been refunded, then that's a big issue. This is going great. As if that wasn't enough, once again, a huge percentage of employees at Twitter are leaving due to Elon Musk's big Twitter 2.0 ultimatum. For those of you that haven't seen, internally, Elon Musk sent a memo that moving forward, Twitter 2.0 is going to be much more focused on engineering, much more focused on product and development, and it will be, the word he specifically used is hardcore. So in the memo, he said he was expecting people to work out of the office for a minimum of 40 hours a week, which already doesn't bode well, especially because the culture at Twitter was that people can work remotely. So taking that away is not a great thing. He told workers to expect to sleep in the office and work ridiculous hours, and essentially was basically saying that their lives were going to be hell. And their options are, you either agree to this, and in the memo itself was a link for you to agree, or you can leave. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, a lot of people are choosing to leave, right? So a lot of workers are now leaving, and on top of everything else, it just seems like everything is just falling apart. Last but not least, and this came out today, once again, this isn't verified. It seems like it's true. So once again, don't take this as complete truth, but I would love it if it's true. Because of such a large number of employees leaving, because of such a large number of employees leaving, the Twitter offices are going to be shut down until the 21st, which is next week today. So they're shutting down the Twitter offices for 1 week. Why? Because they're afraid that so many people are leaving that the people leaving are going to sabotage the office and the company as they're leaving. So they're completely shutting the office down. Boy, that's a hell of a saga, right? And that's where we are now. There are people saying that, a couple of things I did forget to mention. After the first round of layoffs, they begged a bunch of people to come back because they weren't supposed to be laid off. And as of right now, Twitter is running a test version of their website. So in development, there are two versions of a product. There is a test version, which is the version that, is internal. People test. They can alter it in a specific way so that they can hyper-focus on problems. And there's a production version, which is a completely sealed version that has a lot of connections shut down. So the test version has a lot of connections that are open so that they can ping specific things to see if they're working properly, et cetera, et cetera. A production version takes a lot of those backdoors away, right? It's a very secure and clad product that people aren't able to bypass in any way. Twitter, right now, is running a test version, which means anybody with even like a shred of idea of what coding is or what coding looks like, you can just right-click on Twitter, go to Inspect Element, and there are a lot of links to internal things at Twitter that we're not supposed to see. So this is a big uh-oh for not only for like the stability of the site, but for security, right? Like there are a lot of ways of accessing a lot of information that we're not supposed to be privy to. And yeah, all of these problems are basically, of Mr. Musk's own creation, which I find hilarious. And I think something very interesting is I feel like the general sentiment towards wealthy people is that they're successful because they're smart or because they're geniuses. However, that's not the case. And I think this is a perfect example, a perfect case study. And this will be a case study on how to ruin a company for all like business classes in the future. This will be an amazing case study on what not to do. So that that teachers or that colleges will be teaching everywhere for business classes. So I think the moral of the story is people who are extremely wealthy are stupid. And Elon Musk is, kind of ruining a lot of things because he's an idiot. With that said, Twitter was mine and a lot of the FGC's primary social media platform. What is the next step? If Twitter goes down today or tomorrow, which it very well can, where are we going to communicate? Luckily, Shibarizu, who runs Super Combo, along with a few other people, as far as my understanding goes, full disclosure, I wrote this giant DM to Shibarizu with questions asking about this thing, about how it works, about why, how, when, why, and I forgot to click send. So we're not getting those answers for this show, unfortunately. However, they have made the site FGC.network, which is something that looks very much like Twitter. I believe it's running off of Mastodon, but I'm not 100% sure. Mastodon being another website that's very much like Twitter. And it's a social media network that looks to be very, very hyper-focused on FGC stuff. So if you go to fgc.network, if you go to join.fgc.network, you can get more information. And that seems to be the place where a lot of other people are congregating, expecting the downfall of Twitter. Moral of the story is somebody in the FGC has our backs, and we have a place to go to. I just find this so interesting because Twitter felt like it was going to be one of those places that was going to be around for a long time. And I think while the circumstances are slightly different, it feels like this is the same thing that happened with MySpace, where MySpace was the big dog. MySpace was the big dog. They were going to be around forever. And then all of a sudden, one thing happens and boom, it's gone. And nobody's on it anymore. So long, Tom. But yeah, so there you have it. That's the saga of Twitter, how it affects the FGC, and where it seems like the FGC is going next. So join.fgc.network. Go there.